Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of TV is Our Real Mom. I'm Dave.
I'm Catie.
And you are listening to our weekly Fargo podcast in which we share our thoughts on the latest episode of Fargo. And today in this podcast, we are going to try to catch up on episode 2, which we never did a podcast for. So I think the game plan is to do a quick breakdown of episode 2 because we're more excited to talk about episode 3. It's more recent, and I think we both liked it more, right, Catie? I don't know.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, there you are. At first your screen wasn't popping in when you were talking, so
Am I here?
I'm glad to see that's happening now.
I can help.
I can help. Nice. So yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna kind of like blast through episode 2 here quick, get up to episode 3 so we can break that down. So without further ado, episode 2 picks up where episode 1 leaves off with what's the main girl officer name? Gloria
Burgle.
Okay. And she is in her stepdad's, deceased stepdad's house, and she finds a case of books. Is that right? Like a suitcase full of books and stuff under the floorboards. And she does she kind of get the idea that the murderer was looking for this, or this was connected somehow?
Who knows what dots? She must have drawn some sort of conclusion. To me, I was sort of lost at this part. I was like, what are the books? Who is the guy? What's happening? Right. But yes, they belonged to her deceased stepfather. Sheesh.
Not only belonged, but yes, we find out soon enough that he wrote these books because he was a sci-fi writer.
So he did.
Maybe not all of them, like maybe some of them were inspiration, but yeah, I feel like he was the author of these books.
There's one book in particular that we're supposed to notice called The Planet Y.
Yeah, and all of this becomes more clear in episode 3.
Which is so not where I thought this season was going. But anyway.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it turns out that her stepfather, Ennis Stussy, had his like mouth and nose glued shut. That's how he was murdered.
Which, okay, does Maurice seem like he's capable of that?
No.
In the state he was in?
No, the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, we assumed last week that we're like, okay, it's obviously got the way these events transpired, it has to be Maurice that killed this guy. But yeah, with the gluing of the mouth and whatnot, I feel like it's not that simple.
And also, the gas station attendant said the guy was Russian. And we just happened to be introduced to another Russian killer guy in this episode. So
Russian killer guy, you are referring to one of
V.M. Varga's stooges.
One of the goons, yeah.
Goon. That's a better word.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention that last week you're like, where are the goons at? Where are the stooges at?
They're here now.
Yep, here they are.
Right, they be killing.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I just think there's something fishy going on. Like, Maurice wouldn't have glued the guy's mouth shut on purpose, and he's not Russian. So,
yeah, it doesn't seem like the way he would kill.
And plus, when he got back to Ray's apartment, he was like, he might be dead. He didn't seem sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, like, did he get there and the guy was already dead?
So much of Fargo, we talked about this in the first podcast, is like coincidence and just random shitty fate. Like, could this be another example of that?
Right. Good point. I wanted to mention, I don't think I mentioned this in our other podcast, but I wanted to say it before I forget. When I was like doing the thumbnail for the first episode, I noticed when Maurice is coming down the stairs out of the apartment, he's like lighting a cigarette, and he throws like a match or something on the stairs. So like, I don't know if that's going to come into play, but I feel like that could be evidence that he was, if it has his fingerprints on it when he's leaving their apartment, it could point to the fact that he was up there.
That's true.
Yeah. So just want to throw that out there while I thought of it.
Okay. Noted.
Duly noted. So should we stick to Gloria, or should we kind of go through the plot of the episode?
No, let's go character by character, because, there's artistic reasons for splitting it up, but not necessary for a podcast.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Emmett, Stussy, and Cy. And when they're driving in the car, you get a little glimpse of how the brother dynamic was a little bit different than we originally thought.
Mm-hmm.
That Emmett has actually helped out Ray in the past, and and Ray has been sort of using Emmett, I guess, like for money and stuff. That's what I gathered from this. Like Emmett has helped him, and he's sort of like the bum brother that Emmett's been helping out all this time, yet he never has the stones to cut him off,
Yeah, Emmett came off a little more sympathetic in this episode, I thought. Exactly. He was saying, maybe I should just give him the stamp. And it's like, yeah, it's just hanging in your house as a picture. So, yeah, maybe you should give him the stamp. But, I mean, at least it crossed his mind.
Right. And Cy is sort of like the voice of reason, that good friend that's like, you need to cut him off, like it's for his own good and your own good, that sort of thing. I feel like
Cy is a wiener.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, not to jump ahead in the plot, but I mean,
we can do that.
Can I jump ahead in the plot?
Yeah, let's just jump ahead.
Okay, so, well, whatever. Okay, so later when Cy and Ray are meeting in that diner, you'll have to tell me what your take on this scene was. Like, this is after Nikki has gone into the house and left evidence that she was there and made Emmett want to bury Ray forever. But to me, I felt like Cy was putting on this big show of force and stuff, like of his own accord. Like, this isn't what Emmett exactly wanted him to do, like running into his car and just being a dick, taking out the wad of cash and just giving him 120, I feel like that was like not Emmett's doing. I feel like that was Cy's doing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, that's Cy sort of has, like, I don't think it's like a gay thing, like he's gay for him, but it's it's like borderline, like
he's obsessed with him.
Like Cy kind of loves him, is obsessed with him. But maybe
he sees Ray as a threat. Maybe he's the one that's driven a wedge between them from the beginning. We don't know their history.
That's a really good theory that we get some more of that in the down the line in the season, that there's more to how Cy, fits in with these two,
right.
Exactly. And yeah, I agree. He's a wiener in the way he goes about things. He's kind of he's like trying to be tough, but he's not,
but he's a wiener in a parka. Like, it's not gonna work for long.
Which is why I'm shocked he hasn't gotten whacked yet. But
dude, there's 7 episodes left. There's time to whack Cy. Plenty of time.
Not to mention, episode 3 was a complete B-side departure. So it's like there was no time to whack Cy yet.
No time for whacking Cy.
But it's coming. It's gonna happen.
It'll come, but I think there's more story there before. I think it'll be an end game type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, that whole scene between Emmett and Ray when they were trying to bury the hatchet, there was an authentic conversation going on.
I thought it was authentic because before they go, Nikki says, do you want to break in or do you want to make peace with your brother? Because those are the only options. And then they kind of do both.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Except not really, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, he's trying to bury the hatchet meanwhile she goes in and tries to steal the stamp. And even when they're driving away from the whole thing, before he realizes what she's done, he's saying, like, I think something good just happened. Like, I think we actually made some ground there. Like, I think this is good. So I think that's how it is authentic, the moment they have together. Unfortunately, Nikki Swango screws the whole thing up.
Swango gonna swango.
That's what.
But see, it was complete. See, before this episode, I kind of thought that maybe she was conning Ray, like she was super smart, and this whole thing was a long con to get some of Emmett's money or whatever. But now I think she's not that smart. But she saw the safety deposit box thing and automatically assumed that's where he put the stamp. So, but what do you think actually went there? Like, do you think it was the money the money for paying back the Varga guys? They have the money.
How do we know the stamp isn't in the safety deposit box?
Because he said the cleaning lady broke it.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's just
Thank
getting
you.
fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
This is all just, she's drawing all these ridiculous conclusions from just a picture of a donkey and a receipt for a safety deposit box and leaving DNA evidence in the house that could incriminate her and her boyfriend, who she's not even supposed to be dating. Like, it was so idiotic a move. I can't defend it. Like, I can't believe she's conning this guy anymore. Like, I don't think she's smart enough after a display like that.
Yeah, and I read that somewhere in someone's recap or something, that it's hard to reconcile the two Nikki Swangos we get in the two episodes, because it's like in one, she's this like crafty, like she thinks of everything in the way they murder Maurice, you know, and in this episode she's a complete idiot. So it's like between the two, like the character is very,
unless she's so good at conning him that she is pretending to be a dumbass, but she seemed genuinely mad and like this was super reactionary and stupid.
Yeah, I feel like it is just maybe an oversight in character development, and hopefully they can pull it together. But it's definitely juxtaposing. We don't have a clear image now of who Nikki Swango is. Like, it's kind of confusing.
I was super confused by the whole thing. So I don't know what to make of Swango at this moment. What do you think? Where do you think it's going?
I have no idea. I couldn't say.
There's no point in predicting either with this show.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Varga.
Yeah.
And, what happens in this episode with him? He basically, first thing we see, he's pulling up a big truck, right, to one of their parking lots because he wants to park it there.
Yeah.
And we get a glimpse of, he seems like a really intelligent guy, right?
Yeah. And skeezy though, skeezy.
Definitely super skeezy. But yeah, I like when Emmett and Ray are sort of trying to figure out, you know, what kind of business he's into, and they're
that part was awesome.
Slave girls.
He was about to say drugs, and then Cy just jumps to slave girls, and Emmett just looks appalled. And at the same time, like, where I think Nikki isn't as smart as I thought in episode 1, I think Emmett isn't as smart as maybe I thought in episode 1. I think he's just kind of, he lets Cy handle a lot of things, and maybe Cy's the one that got him in this mess anyway. But I just think he's a little bit naive.
Yeah, I mean, naivete, man, that is like a huge theme of the season so far. And especially episode 3, as we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I agree. I think Emmett is not as savvy as we may have been led to believe.
No.
And I think that's a good theory that Cy is probably the one behind getting them into this mess.
Yeah, I feel like there's Cy's playing a bigger role than more than just like Emmett's right-hand man. Like that whole scene with Ray just made me think there's something else deeper going on here. So.
Yeah. So we have, let's see, we have a chief. What's the whole situation with the new chief and Gloria?
Well, it appears their tiny little police station has been absorbed into the county. So they've got like a chief that oversees, a county chief that oversees all the little ones. And so they got to call him the chief. So Gloria is technically not the chief anymore. And her deputy is confused on what to call her. By the way, I love this deputy guy. I think he's amazing. I'm wondering if this was the part Jim Gaffigan was supposed to play.
Oh, he's not going to be in this season?
I don't know. I heard that he's not now.
Oh, that sucks. I had totally forgotten that he was on the list of people.
But maybe there's another guy. But I feel like there was some sort of Mandela effect going on in my brain. Like, I feel like I remember seeing him in a deputy outfit, but I don't. Like, that never actually happened.
You never actually saw a picture of him filming in the season?
No.
Huh. Yeah, that's weird, man. Like, I had forgotten he was on the list, and now that you're saying it, I'm like, this season does feel like it's missing like one big name or like one.
Well,
you
as
know?
we saw with episode 3, they can just bring in random guest stars, and that makes up for it,
Right. Do I know the guy who played Thaddeus from something? He looks familiar.
No.
Okay, I'll look it up after. I definitely recognize him. I think it's from one of those like teen movies, like Alexandra's No Good, Horrible, like one of those type of movies.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like that's what it is, or the secrets of being a wallflower or some shit like that.
Perks.
It's
not
one
a
of
perk.
the
It's not a secret. It's perks.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying though, right? It's like one of those movies that I know him from. Yeah. Anywho, back to the task at hand, breaking down episode 2. I mean, what else do we want to say? I don't want to spend too much time on episode 2.
I'm trying to remember the high points or the low points or whatever. I thought it was a funny episode. I thought it established the characters a little better. But like you said too, like it confused me about some of the characters. I was listening to one podcast. This isn't really about the show, but I just want to clarify something for people who have a misconception about Minnesota and North Dakota. I was listening to one podcast, and I listen to these guys do all sorts of TV show podcasts, and they are under the impression, they were talking about how you shouldn't drive a Corvette in a place where it's winter 8 months out of the year. And I would like to inform people that it is not winter 8 months out of the year, especially in Minneapolis. Like, you have snow on the ground maybe 3-4 months out of the year. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. Like, we don't need that, like, blanket. It's like they believe that because the show always takes place in winter, they believe that it's always winter here. But
yeah,
it's not.
Let's put that to rest. Definitely this winter we had a very mild winter, and we really, I mean, granted, the months it's cold it's brutal. Like it's really cold, and it sucks. You got to get through it. But we're talking like January, February this winter.
This year, December.
No, it was
December.
Yeah, it was December, January. Were really bad.
February wasn't so bad.
And that was it. Like it was like a nice November, a decent February, and March it was already getting into spring. So we're talking
80 degrees right now. It's early May, and it is 80 degrees outside.
Yeah,
so just stop.
We're talking 3 months tops this winter that were cold, and then it was just either chilly or really not that bad. So. No. So yeah, I mean, and they
think like we're living in Siberia or something, but it's not like that.
No, and the summers here are really hot and very nice.
Yeah.
And it's green everywhere. It's I don't think people understand that.
Well, I love this show, but it doesn't do great at dispelling the myth.
You just did an accent when you said that.
Oh, well, that was.
Well,
Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's winter.
It's it doesn't get that cold here, guys. Come on.
Thank you. We had to put that to rest. So. There's tons of like funny language in Fargo, right? I mean, like unfathomable pinheadery.
I've never heard anybody say that.
That was a Nikki Swango line, right?
Yeah. Unfathomable pinheadery.
Yep. Psychic Drano. I can't remember what that referred to, but
they do have. That's the writers. They have very good writers on the show, and they can't help but. But one thing about Fargo in the past I found is that they talk like real people. I mean, accents notwithstanding, they seem like believable. Like their conversations they seem real. Whereas in some shows, you can tell that the writers are just like up their own asses, Yeah,
the dialogue comes off as authentic for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. We talked about the goons, but we should mention like what they did because I feel like it's a huge plot point. This Irv guy that works at, where did he work again? I forgot what he worked. Did he work with Emmett or something?
He did. Was he a lawyer?
Maybe he worked for one of their parking lots or something.
I don't recall.
Or one of their parking ramps, or I don't know, the office where
thought he was like a more respected higher up guy.
Yeah. So anyways, he Googles VM. It's VM, right?
Yeah, but not without help. the man
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
even know how to Google.
Yeah, and that to me was another slam, like diss on North Dakotans. Like I felt like it was a personal.
Minnesotans.
Or yeah, Minnesotans, like they're all idiots. Like they don't even know.
Yeah.
In 2010, they don't even know how to use Google.
And
I mean,
same with the parking lot guy. Like they made him seem like such an idiot. But I think
there are people like that. But I mean, come on.
sure. But
We're not too stupid.
and
to use
also
Google.
this guy was old and he probably was against like getting with the times, maybe was the
So it's tough.
implication, but
Yeah, it's tough for me to tell if it's a slight against old people or North Dakota. I don't know, Minnesota. Anyways, the point was that the goons push Irv off the building or the parking ramp,
they just flip him right over.
and he dies, and that's a thing.
And then later
all because he Googled that guy's name, which is
well,
yeah.
Scary. After he Googled his name, all of a sudden a camera like must have taken a picture of them or something.
Yep, that's
and
what they. Yep.
A couple hours or maybe a day, the dude was dead.
Pretty crazy. So yeah, that really depicts how scary VM Varga is. And at the end of the episode, we get a whole scene that really solidifies that, slams that home.
He's in charge now. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a scary, scary man.
I love the way the actor, David Thewlis, like even the way he walks is like just so like kind of hunched over and just creepy. He's just this like I don't want to say cartoon character because I think he's played well and subtly, but he just immediately is like his own thing. You know what I mean? Like he's just a character you're going to recognize with the trench coat and the walk and the teeth and the talk. I just think the actor is doing a really good job of playing him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. That guy is a solid dude.
That's true.
I don't know. I think we should jump into episode 3 now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this is a departure, as we said. We're going to in episode
quite
3,
literally.
Yeah, it's a journey to LA for Gloria. What's her name again?
Gloria Burgle.
Gloria Burgle. Where we're going to get backstory about her stepfather, Thaddeus Mobley, aka Ennis Stussy. And what do you want to talk about first in this episode?
I want to start with an observation that has led me to a theory that I have formulated over the last day since I've watched it. My observation was 1975 was 35 years ago. How old did Thaddeus look to you?
Pretty damn young.
Okay, let's say he was 30. That would make him in 2010 65 years old. That old dude that died was like 85.
Oh, okay.
So my theory is that isn't him.
Yeah, that's the old guy is not Ennis Stussy.
Or he's not Thaddeus Mobley.
Well, that's where it's going to get really confusing because, I mean, what happens at the end of the episode is Gloria discovers this toilet that he had used as his, it was his hotel room that he was staying in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's apparently where Thaddeus Mobley got his alias from, was the D on Dennis Stussy and Sons was missing, so he just took that alias as Ennis Stussy.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we are to believe that his name was originally Thaddeus Mobley, and he took the alias of Ennis Stussy, and now this old guy is pretending to be Ennis Stussy with the backs. I mean, it's really confusing.
And it takes you back to the very beginning of the season with the guy in Russia and the mistaken identity, but like him being mistaken for a wife murderer, but he's in such a situation that it doesn't even matter. Like he'll have to admit to a murder he didn't commit. And the same, and you see the mistaken identity theme threatening to emerge with Emmett and Ray as well.
Exactly. Yeah. With these two, was it in the preview that these two are going to start like acting like each other or pretending
I
to
have
be?
not seen a preview.
Okay, I feel like I saw a preview, and next week's episode, you're already getting some of that. I'm pretending to be Ray's pretending to be Emmett or something like that for whatever
That
reason.
happened sooner than I expected. Okay.
Yeah, if I remember right, I could have this mixed up with something else or something. I don't know.
But anyway, like I just don't believe, like the whole time, while I enjoyed the episode immensely, I had a hard time believing this young guy was the old guy, because it's a long time ago, but it's not long enough for a 20-year-old guy to become a super old dude.
Well, he was a drinker, but I mean, he would have to be drinking pretty hard to look that old at 60, whatever.
Yeah, he just seemed so old. You know, they must have gone out of their way to make him look old for a reason, you know? Because
Yeah.
like a 65-year-old guy, I mean, our dad is not that far from that, and he's nothing like that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think that's a good theory, though. It's just my thought was like, how confusing is that going to be when you have a guy with a fake name who's not even that guy, and it's like, who is who? Was this guy ever Thaddeus Mobley? I mean, I imagine yes, he was. That was his real name, right?
Thaddeus Mobley, I believe
Yeah.
so. It just
what if it wasn't even his name? What if that was like his author name?
Okay,
then we have like that's 3 layers deep.
That's that Inception, the dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
But no, it hit me when Gloria was sitting down at the diner with this Vivian chick, and I'm like, is she supposed to be around the same age as Thaddeus? Because she does not look to be his age. So that's kind of when it hit me.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't think of that, and I probably should have, because I mean, yeah, it's right there in front of me.
That dude was old. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, did you get the sense that this episode was like loaded with symbolism? Whether it was like,
sure, did I understand it? No.
Yeah, it might have been a little heavy-handed too, like especially the like cartoon sequence with the sci-fi novel, like that was like heavy-handed symbolism. Even though I'm kind of with you, like I don't really understand how it all fits together, but it might be kind of fun to inspect that a little bit. Do you have any theories on, like, I feel like one of the big symbols of the episode was that device, that like gag box where you push the switch and then the hand comes out and hits the switch and then goes back in. Yeah. It's like a device that turns itself off.
It's the device on top of MNSKY the Robot's head looks exactly like that.
Like
at the red and green.
Yeah, like at the end of the episode, don't they just like switch him off?
He tells them that, or his overlords tell him he's traveled the world and seen so much that now he can turn himself off. And that's what he does.
Oh, he turns himself off.
Yeah, he goes, I can help. And then he helps himself and switches it off.
Holy shit, that's crazy. So I'm trying to figure out, do you have any sense of like what this box symbolizes? Is it like futility or something like that?
I don't know, but I would like to start just by saying that I don't know why this was emotional and poignant and touching, but it was. And I think Gloria feels the same way. Like, she doesn't know why this affects her, but it clearly has impacted her emotionally because she kept that device. Like, to remind her of the story, to remind her of this trip she took. Like, it all means something. And because Gloria doesn't know yet what it means, I think it's okay for us to not know yet what it means.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we could probably come up with some pretty sound theories on the symbolism and what it all represents in the main thread of the story and Gloria Burgle's story. But I feel like, yeah, we don't have enough yet to really tie it all together. I think we're starting to get a sense of the themes, and yeah, we should just leave it alone for now.
Well, I mean, we can venture a guess. I mean,
what's your guess of the symbolism? Like, I know it has something to do with futility, but like, as far as like how that relates to our characters, I don't know exactly. I can't put my finger on it.
But the thing is, an episode like this, which is such a departure, usually comes later in a season, and this is early for an episode like this. So that's why I think it's harder for us to put our finger on exactly what it means, because I know I like Gloria more now. Like, I think she's awesome, but I don't know what role it will play in the rest of the story. Maybe it comes back to the whole mistaken identity thing, but I don't know how.
That'd be cool if that the two tie together. That would be really cool. But I don't know. I don't know if I feel better about Gloria Burgle as a character, like, because I have some questions. Like, what is she? Why is she going to LA to investigate? Like, to me, it's like a big jump from like, oh, his life as an author in LA somehow ties into his murder. Like, how does she come to that conclusion? To me, it's like, why not look around Minnesota first? More than likely, this took place for reasons in Minnesota. Like, that's where you need to be investigating. But she jumps right to the conclusion that this past life of being an author in LA, like, it has something to do with that. And I question, like, what is she even doing there? Is it really about the case, or did she use it as an excuse to delve
let's
into?
examine Gloria Burgle's life for a moment.
Let's.
She is in the midst of a divorce, which apparently is not yet done.
Okay.
Her ex-husband is now involved with a man. She is confused by all the technology around her, refusing to embrace it. Which, by the way, I have a theory about. Remind me to talk about the theory. Anyway.
Okay.
And her job is in danger because they've been absorbed by the county, and she doesn't know if she's going to continue to have a job. Her stepfather was just murdered, and she doesn't know why. So, shit's not going great for Gloria Burgle, and she maybe just took it as an excuse to be like, I feel like something was calling her there. She felt like something important happened, and she needed to know about it. And she took that as any excuse she needed. And also to find out, that this guy you knew for such a long time had this other identity, maybe, made her curious to see if someone could come back from that past to even the score, even some kind of score.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I can live with that. As a reason for her. Yeah, I can live with that as a reason for her to be down there. But I just felt like it seemed kind of weird that, like, why not investigate more locally first?
Because then she'd have to deal with her new chief.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's a big part of it. She's just trying to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing was, like, they really painted her as a fish out of water in Los Angeles. Like, really playing up the Minnesota naivete, like swimming with the sharks, like she didn't belong there. I mean, obviously she was able to brush off the one guy pretty easily, like played by, what's his name? Rob Mackle.
Whatever. Mac from Always Sunny. I don't know how to say
it. Excuse me. Rob
always plays a douche.
Yeah, Mac from It's Always Sunny. Always plays a douche, as he does in this episode. She's able to brush him off pretty easily. But that other guy, I don't know, I feel like he's more sinister. He's also a recognizable actor from, like, things like Twin Peaks and stuff like that.
That dude, freaking Leland Palmer.
Yes. So I don't know that we're done with him yet, and I really
That's a good point. I feel like, he doesn't show up unless he's something. But he did show up again later at the bar and give her this kind of weird parable almost.
Right, and maybe that's all it is, but, like, it really gave me the sense of how fish out of water she is in LA. Like, she is very naive, and, like, the quickness with which she saw that, like, she took her ring off, like she used to wear a ring, stuff like that. I mean, she is out of her league, I feel like. So I don't know. She's obviously the main character, or she's like the only protagonist we have to root for in this show. So, I mean, I don't think anything bad's going to happen to her immediately or anything, but that's the kind of character she is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know why I came away liking her so much more. I think maybe because we saw the same story she did. And we came away with the same sense of maybe confusion, but also like something happened. And I don't know why it's important. I keep saying that, but
something happened in this episode. I don't know what it is, but something happened.
Well, obviously something happened, but like we don't know what it means yet.
Right.
It seemed an awful long way to go just to find out where he got his alias from. And you know, at the beginning, you think that he's going to be this story is going to be this super tragic, like, important story, but it's just the story of a naive kid who gave away his money and fell victim to a classic Hollywood scam. That's all it was.
Right. But yeah, let's not forget the character of Vivian Lord, right?
Yes.
And how ultimately at the end of this episode, she feels compelled to share with Gloria that
what happened that night, that she
like he was right about her, like she was bad, she was a bad person, and then kind of also says that Thaddeus was a little bad too, though, you know, like,
yeah.
And I think she's pointing out that I feel like there's a little bit of an LA, Minnesota kind of thing going on, like this, like sort of the bad people in Hollywood that'll eat you alive, and the naive Minnesotan. But like, how don't underestimate.
Was he Minnesotan at the beginning though?
It sure seemed that way to me. It sure seemed that he is a Midwestern. He represents the Midwestern naive person who moves to LA to be a writer and all that stuff. And sort of she's saying that don't underestimate that bad part, that dark side that lives in the naive Minnesotan. Because I mean, look what happened.
That's true.
He was pushed to his breaking point, flipped out, and almost murdered Vivian.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a common theme in Fargo too.
That's true. It's seemingly decent people pushed to the brink by something and then running from it until something happens. They fall through the ice, or they get a bear trap on their leg, or whatever.
And everybody's got their breaking point, you know,
yes.
Like, don't underestimate the rage of a Minnesotan is kind of what I'm getting from it.
And I just want to say, just because you're from Minnesota, and the thing is, she's also from a very small town in Minnesota. Like, you can't generalize everybody from the Midwest in that sense, but how she kind of just left her suitcase and then went to the desk and it got stolen. It's like, come on, you're a cop. You should know better.
No, yeah, and I felt like that was the biggest theme of the episode to me.
I didn't think of that, because she and Thaddeus had some things in common. Maybe she saw that.
It's like this naivete they shared, and yet this, you know, the wolf is inside of them. It lives in there. It just needs to be brought out by bad people. Yeah, I mean, you get pushed around enough by bad people, the badness comes out. You know.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Look at Heisenberg.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like the name of the book, The Planet Y, even though the Y and the H are mixed around. Like, it's an apt title. Like,
even though it's the two are switched around, it's
well
good.
Because it's like one of those sci-fi things. Like, when even two letters are switched around, it's supposed to be a completely different word. But obviously, when you read it, it says the planet Y, and it makes you think. And on the screenplay he was writing, or somebody changed it to Y, W-H-Y. But anyway, like, it's an apt title for, like, this poor little robot. He doesn't know why he's wandering around this stupid world and worlds. But he does for millions and millions of years. And it's a good metaphor for existence.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's the question of futility. Like, what's the point? I push the button and it turns itself off, or like I can help and then I flip my own switch or whatever. I don't know. I feel like I don't even want to go there.
Yeah,
like,
probably smart.
It's so dark, but at the same time, I feel like that's what this episode points towards a little bit. We can't not just comment on it.
Maybe Gloria's eventually gonna flip the switch and just stop trying to help him, being like, "Fuck y'all." Oh, excuse my language. Sorry, Mom.
Oh yeah, the TV's gonna be mad at you.
Screw you guys. That's what I meant.
The TV does not like cussing. No cussing.
He likes it just fine, but whatever.
Yeah, especially when this show is on it.
Anywho. Yeah, like I think Gloria, maybe that's why it's in her car now. The switch is in her cop car, which represents her quest for justice. And there may come a day when that switch gets turned off.
Yes, that's it.
I solved it. That's it. Just like I solved Westworld in like the 3rd episode, Fargo's been solved. So
Right.
check that off the list.
Yeah, another part that points to this like darkness and futility. The scene with Harold Zimmerman in his like home when he talks.
That was a heavy speech, was it not?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's discussing quantum physics and how, you know, we know that particles kind of float along and every once in a while they collide, and when they do, that's when they become real.
We assign it meaning.
Because in quantum physics, there's supposedly like electrons or particles can exist in multiple places at once. Like they're in superposition and they're not in one real spot until an observer looks at it. Like until you can measure something and see it, it's not real. Like, so basically all possibilities exist. And that's basically what quantum physics, or some of what quantum physics is about. And I really liked the way he correlated it to us as human beings and our experiences. We're sort of just floating along. And when we run into each other and have authentic interactions, that's when we are real, you know?
Happiness is only real when shared. That's
Yeah.
That's from Into the Wild.
It's kind of like that. Or even, I mean, sadness and
emotion in general.
The whole range of human experience, like, isn't real until we collide together, you know? So I thought that was an interesting thing they threw in there. This show can get really deep sometimes.
That's why I love it. I mean,
it's got all
2 minutes into this episode, I was like, I love this episode. I don't even care where it goes, but this is my favorite episode. Like, and I don't care if people gave it a bad grade or whatever. I think it was an awesome episode.
Yeah, for sure. Did we already discuss your theory you wanted me to have you bring up? Did you say that?
I had a theory after the 2nd episode that maybe, you know, because there's always some supernatural element in these seasons, that maybe something in Gloria, she's like, technology just doesn't work for her. Like when she tries to talk on her cell phone in the 2nd episode, and she's like, mine always cuts out after like whatever 2 minutes. Like it doesn't work for her, and maybe there's some kind of reason for that.
That's really good. I never, you know, I did pick up on like in the 2nd episode how she says she still uses telex because she
I don't even know what that is.
I think it's some sort of like a comm system, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like a radio or like a walkie-talkie kind of almost.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't like computers. So I picked up on the fact that she's averse to technology, but like the depth to which you picked up on it, I think that, yeah, you're totally right that there's something there where it's a little bit supernatural. Like it literally will not work for her because there's just something about her and her experience and who she is.
And she will eventually be led to the Stussy brothers, and she will therefore eventually get tangled into the Varga stuff. You know, this is all going to collide. Like, see what I did there? But maybe because she is not capable of using technology, does not use it, that she'll be a good person to crack it, because they're all about the technology with the Google thing and the stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, bringing it back to the Google thing.
Yeah.
Because it's apparent that in 2010, Varga has a good handle on using modern technology, the internet, security, surveillance, all that stuff to his advantage to do what he's got to do. So if you got someone who doesn't use that stuff, I guess you could argue though that would work against them because they'd be at a disadvantage. They wouldn't be able to figure it out. But no, I think you're onto something there. There's a connection that's going to happen.
Yeah, there is.
Yes. What else you got from this episode? Like, what do you think of the Santa Claus convention?
I thought that was funny.
Is that sort of just like a backdrop, like thematic thing, right? That's sort of just giving us a picture and a set.
Yeah.
It's
Fargo's
not
very good at depicting like the everyday
weirdness.
just weird everyday weird stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, I don't know how significant the Santa Claus convention is going to be, like as a literal plot.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna matter beyond this episode. I think it was just a funny kind of backdrop, and the picture of the image of Santa stealing rather than giving is a pretty funny one.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I don't know. I'm running out of stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of covered it. We delved into some discussion that was probably completely wrong, but I don't know if it can be wrong. I don't know if there's a right interpretation of this. Maybe there's something more rigid that we will learn about it as the episodes go on, but I think you can take from an episode like that what you will.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough information yet to
Right.
say who's right and who's wrong.
And if it genuinely moved you, which it genuinely moved me, then that's a good episode.
I agree. And also, like, do you want to get some Arby's?
Oh my God. The genuine, pure, like, joy on his face when they said they were going to Arby's was probably the funniest thing on the season so far.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are going to Arby's?
I love Arby's.
Oh, that slayed me.
Check it out right here.
You went to Arby's.
I went to Arby's. Like,
Did you get a shake and some curly fries?
I got curly fries. I've never gotten a shake at Arby's. I don't know what that's about.
I've never understood the concept of getting a shake as a beverage. Like, it's another meal to me. Like, that's a dessert thing. It will either be soda or soda.
Well, I think it's a good way to get fat if that's your goal.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe that's what Ewan McGregor did when he was trying to get fat to be Ray.
But who knows? Maybe there's more calories in this soda than there is in a milkshake. I don't know. I doubt it.
More empty calories.
Yeah, probably that.
I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm not a nutritionist. I eat like garbage. So
yeah. Oh, I just was noticing another note I have here. There's a whatchamacallit in her suitcase.
Yeah, that must have been what the Santa left there for her.
Huh. What was that about? Why that?
I think they wanted to find a random candy bar that people kind of remember, but not really.
So it's just random.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, and then there's like, what do you call it? A recap. I read a recap of this.
Okay.
This episode, and they mentioned that they felt like the Facebook thing, like Max.
Facebook. Say Facebook one more time.
Yeah, like Mac's character was really just a mouthpiece for the writer's feelings about social media or Facebook.
Maybe.
Sort of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, because other than that, they couldn't see the significance of the character other than they just needed some way to say, like, Facebook sucks. It's stupid.
The episode? I love the episode of the IT Crowd where they talk about friend face, which is obviously a shout out at Facebook.
Right, yeah.
If you haven't watched the IT Crowd, you should. And when they start talking about friend face, it's funny and super accurate depiction of Facebook.
What do they say again? I can't remember.
I don't remember. They have, how they have their super fast and witty banter. I don't remember the exact words, but I just remember being like, yes, and laughing.
Yeah, so it's funny and accurate, but you couldn't tell us what they said.
No idea why. I just remember thinking that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we covered this episode pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Ray and Emmett are up to. So.
Yep. Me too.
And Nikki Swango.
Nikki Swang. I'm just curious to see, like how the threads of the story are going to start to come together because we're getting into episode 4.
They always do.
1 after 4 is 5, and that's halfway through the season. So that's pretty.
So then you're basically done. So
yeah, so then it's
basically
over.
nearing the home stretch here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I forget. Do we have like a thing we do at the end of these?
Oh, we said who's gonna get whacked. I said Emmett last time, so I'll stick with that.
Well, since nobody's been whacked yet, I might as well just stick to Cy then.
Yeah. He's number 1 on my death list, and you have Cy at number 1 on yours. So
cool. All right, and that's it. That's all we did, right?
Yep. That's our thing.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And you can follow us on Twitter at TV is our real mom. Be sure to like, comment, favorite, subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Adios.